out has said they've seen it, or they know somebody that's seen it. We need viable sources. Because we cannot, under any circumstances, believe hearsay. So I may have to make this short and sweet. What's good, Be Fierce? This reminds me of when they said there was a Lori Harvey sex tape. Y'all remember that? But it never went anywhere. I'm not saying that there wasn't one, but the right people might have been paid off. How did Lord Jamar see it and nobody else? You would think that it'll be somebody that's, either in the sports realm or somebody who's more in the blogger sphere. But black man, especially a lot of you 50-something-year-olds. Let me talk about you 50-something-year-olds like a Shannon Sharp. Again, make sure y'all like the stream if y'all can hear me, because I know there's buffering going on. Be careful of the women that y'all get with, man. Shannon Sharp did not do himself any favors. Shannon Sharp was good, Ryuga. Swimming in the swamp was good. How are you a 50-something-year-old man messing around with a 20-year-old and you don't have her sign a non-disclosure? You don't legally protect yourself. A lot of these dudes brag about dating these younger women. Bro, these women are not mentally developed. And then you got to ask yourself the question, what is a 20-year-old doing, a 20-year-old OnlyFans model who probably has all types of trauma, and you getting into a relationship with her, a BDSM type relationship, because that's what it is, a BDSM relationship. I don't think this man was like beating on her. That's what people got to understand. They were in a BDSM relationship. Argue with a wall, okay? That's what it was. When I heard the recordings, when he said he would choke her in public, he was being sarcastic. That man was not going to choke her in public. That man walks in airports with his little dog, okay? They were in a dom submissive relationship. But it ended early 2025. Apparently, she must have came to him privately. She wanted money. He was going to give her $10 million. You know what this heifer said? She said no to $10 million. She said no to $10 million. Do you know why she said no to $10 million? I don't think it's about the money. She could have took that $10 million and kept it moving. She wants to destroy his career and whoever is backing her. Now, there are people who have been saying that Shaq, because I saw this too, Shaq was looking to dig up dirt on Shannon Sharp, because y'all know him and Shannon Sharp got into it. And they said at first, Shaq was looking to dig up information in order to see if Shannon Sharp was gay. Y'all know the gay rumors? The rumors that Shannon Sharp likes men. The rumors that Shannon Sharp wears those suits for a reason because he, may be trying to attract men that like men. Who knows? Yeah, Matt Barnes said that. But what I'm speaking about is something different. With the Matt Barnes situation, which I did see that too, he said that Shaq was jealous that Shannon Sharp got the $100 million podcast deal. Let me tell you something, Shaq. Nobody wants to listen to a Shaq podcast. I'm just telling you. Who is going to give Shaquille O'Neal a $100 million podcast deal? Nobody wants to listen to Shaq and whomever on a podcast. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers, people. Shannon Sharp is one of the best podcasters out there. Not only for what he did with Club Shay Shay, but also with the nightcap. Look at the live viewers they get. Look at the numbers that they are doing. Let me look up Nightcap and see where they are subscribers wise. Again, make sure y'all like the stream. I know the buffering is crazy, but hang in there. Nightcap. Yo, Shannon Sharp went live yesterday. Yo, let me say this about Shannon Sharp, right? Y'all can't cancel Shannon Sharp. You know why? Because Shannon Sharp has his own platform. Do y'all know that? Shannon Sharp, he left Fox Sports at the right time. Because if he would have gotten caught up in all this when Fox Sports 1 was his only source of income, he'd be in trouble. Really bad trouble. But he has his own platform. And you know where Shannon was last night? He wasn't hiding. This man was live streaming on YouTube last night. And as of 22 hours ago, they had over 780,000 live viewers, pre and post stream. Nightcap is at about 1.7 million. He has his own platform. You can't cancel Shannon Sharp. So this heifer's going to fail because he has his own platform. He has Club Shay Shay and he has Nightcap. And no matter what Shaq does, he's going to get that deal or he'll get another deal. That's why I originally titled this stream, Shannon Sharp leaves ESPN briefly to fight this case. And that's why I say Shaq needs to go and speak with Jay-Z's lawyers, because Jay-Z's lawyers obliterated Tony Buzbee. Tony Buzbee did not know the monster that he was dealing with. I'm telling you right now, Rock Nation, even though people make fun of them, they have bumbled and stumbled at times. They have a very formidable mafioso over there at Rock Nation. That is a beast that is very difficult to defeat. And Tony Buzbee found that out the hard way. They were trying to get Tony Buzbee disbarred. Tony Buzbee fucked around and found out. So Shannon definitely needs to reach out to their legal team. Yeah, Shaq is very suspect, and he's done some very suspect things. So trying to find out information about another man being gay. Like, we ain't seen that clip of him on that show years ago that people continue to post. This heifer should have took the money and left, but her boyfriend has a new boyfriend or had a boyfriend during that whole time. Because you got to understand, a 20-year-old girl like that is not single. She has a boyfriend. All these heifers have some bum that they're dating secretly because they are ashamed of these men. And they'll link up with a Shannon Sharp or one of these other dumb, rich, older men who think that woman belongs to them. No, she don't. You're using her for the moment. You're using her for this moment. She could have left with 10 million, but her boyfriend wants more because he's a bum. He'll never make that type of money in his life. And he's telling her to go get more. Yet Mace talked about that. I'm going to play that Mace clip too. I have no doubt she has a pimp boyfriend who she's been dealing with for years, who's in her ear telling her to go for more, because that guy wants to see Shannon embarrassed. She would probably gladly take the money, but her boyfriend, her manager, her pimp, wants her to go public with it to embarrass Shannon. Because any other woman would have took that $10 million and went about her business, but she didn't. See, some of these guys, man, they think they got all this game. You know, they doing a little bit of tricking as well, not realizing that girl is out. She's gathering receipts, recording phone calls, gathering text messages, ready to destroy your life, Shannon. You should have protected yourself. You're in your 50s. This is stuff you should already know. You're a pro athlete. You ain't working you're not a regular guy. You should already know this stuff. Shannon should be speaking at those symposiums, say, don't be me at 50-something years old. I'm telling a lot of you guys ain't got as much game as you think you do. And you're getting yourself embarrassed. These young girls are running circles around you. Running circles around you. She's getting this fool on the phone talking about choking her in public. Shannon, $25,000 per cheek. Stop the tricking. Like, Shannon, you can't get with a woman. This is why I believe that this girl has a pimp boyfriend who she probably was attending the same gym as Shannon, and her pimp boyfriend got her to link up with Shannon. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. Some bum got her in Shannon Sharp's face. Shout out to Raphael.
Older man don't understand young woman of today.
Right.
They always try the same young man of today.
Right. Appreciate that, Raphael. Yeah, y'all don't. These young girls out here playing chess. Shout out to Devon.
Black women are piling on saying he should no longer date younger women. Should this claim be ignored?
Appreciate.
Or is it a bias?
Listen, if he wants to date women who are younger than him, let's say in their 40s or 30s or even in their like mid to late 20s, it is what it is. But you better choose a woman that has her own and not just some OnlyFans heifer. What's going on, Charm, Alex? Shout out to everybody that's here. Make sure y'all like the stream. Brent. Let's see, Black Rain. Jalen was good. Adrian, what's up? Shannon need Tracy. Yeah, you need to link up with Tracy. Bruh, if I'm in my 50s, I'm not dating no 20-year-old. I don't care what these old heads tell y'all. I don't care what these middle-aged men, they love to get mad about these women and dating them.
I'm convinced there's a pimp behind all this.
Right. Appreciate that, Brian. It is. I believe that as well. I believe she has a pimp boyfriend who she's probably been with for years, who is pushing her to get more money and to embarrass Shannon at the same time. But I'm telling you right now, Heifer, you might leave with nothing, or you may get less than that $10 million. See, what Tony Busby didn't tell you is that he just got embarrassed in court recently. They took him to school. He's an ambulance chaser, probably got more losses than wins. That woman probably didn't even know who Shannon Sharp was. I believe she pursued him because her boyfriend, pimp, whoever, told her to. Probably gave her tips and told her things about Shannon. I don't see Shannon just approaching her like, you know what I'm saying? I see it more of she approaching him. But now that he's left ESPN, he's continuing to do Nightcap, which is on his own platform. Like I say, he can't be canceled. No matter what this heifer posts, it's not going to be enough. That's why they lying about a sex tape. What tape? What tape? People might say, well, that's why he wanted to settle. I think he wanted to settle because he wanted her to go away. And maybe he felt guilty that he tried to have some sort of BDSM relationship that he says was consensual. And maybe that was her first time dealing with that. And maybe he feels like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have tried this type of relationship with her. And maybe he felt some guilt and he wanted to offer her that because he wanted her to get off the virtual pole. The virtual pole, i.e. off OnlyFans. OnlyFans is the virtual strip club. And I think a part of him wanted to save her. She probably done told him some sob story and he wanted to save her. He wanted her to get off that digital pole. And I think he was offering her that money to save her. But Shannon, I'm going to keep saying it. You 50-something-year-old men bragging about dating 20-something-year-olds, you better be careful. They're running your pockets, especially if you tricking. Listen, if you trick, that is your business. I've never gone at or attacked or made fun of men who use their money to woo women. That is 100% your choice. But if you make a fool of yourself, yes, I'm going to say something. And you dudes are making fool of yourselves if you're getting into relationships with 20-year-olds and you're acting like they are mentally mature. They're not as mentally mature as you. Physically, they may look like a mature grown woman, but mentally, they still are not there. They are not there. And Shannon is finding it out the hard way. Shout out to everybody that's here. Again, we've been dealing with buffering. I'm sorry about that. The next time I go live, I will have that situation fixed to where we don't have to deal with that. But let me play this clip of Lord Jamar. Who sent Lord Jamar the video and nobody leaked it? I just can't believe that. I'm going to play this video of Lord Jamar. Stop the tricking, LOL.
Stop the tricking, lol.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And it's not looking good for the boy Shay. There's a recording out.
Shannon comes hails
where
from the most simp generation of BM of all time, Gen X. Those dudes have zero game, are all tricks, and are easy prey for young 304s.
Appreciate that, Brian. Listen, man, tricking ain't enough. You have to understand the mentality of these women. Do y'all know that the same men who do shit like Shannon Sharp will chastise red pill men? That's why I say the red pill will never go away, because a lot of you men continue to embarrass yourself. And I'm not making an excuse for nobody. I'm not here to defend Shay. I feel like Shannon should have protected himself more, especially when you're looking towards being a $100 million man post NFL career. Very difficult to do for ex-athletes. And because of his work ethic, he was there. He was right there. But a lot of these guys try to listen. When people talk about control, you got women today, they talk about control, but they talk about it as in you telling them they can't hang out with their slutty friends, right? But he really tried to have a BDSM relationship with this 20-year-old heifer. I mean, bro, you're losing before you're winning. You know, just because she's young don't mean she wants to be controlled, bro. And she's making you suffer right now for it.
she's saying something about, yeah, I guess we're going to have to go out because I don't want to get choked and all this type of shit. And he's basically admitting to choking her and shit. Well, if you didn't do the shit you did or some shit like that. But then I'm hearing that there's a tape that's out there. Now, I haven't seen this tape, but.
Oh, Lord Jamar said he hasn't seen it. So that's the clarification I'll make. He hasn't seen the tape, but he knows of people who has. I saw Media Takeout had that as well. People, stop saying that there's something out there and there's no receipts. Because listen, if that tape was out there, it'd be leaked by now. Or you'd have major publications speaking about the tape as it is a reality.
Someone that I know says they have seen this tape.
Who?
They said, and in this tape, apparently he is choking this girl and railing her from the back. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was from the back in the kitty cat. I think he was hitting her in the shitter. And he was choking her or some shit in the video. Now, from what I hear, he's saying that there's a longer piece to the video, and I guess maybe it shows that she's with that shit. I don't know, but my man who said he saw it,
which means, Lord Jamar, that it was a BDSM relationship, a dom submissive. They have porn genres for this. Listen. Like, I think people are coming to their own conclusions, because you can't talk about a clip of something and not have the full context of the video and just assume. And that's why I say she could have said yes or no. They were together, from 2023 to January 2025, right? I think it was the latter part of 2023 and then January 2025, right? She could have left. And if Shannon Sharp was really hurting her, why didn't she say something sooner? Why didn't she say nothing sooner? They had mediation. Shannon was going to give her $10 million. She said no. You know why? Because she wanted, no, not her, but whoever is advising her wanted to embarrass Shannon. They didn't want this to go quietly. She wants the money and she wants to embarrass Shannon. I believe because Shannon didn't want anything to do with her. That's what I believe. She wanted something out of it. This is why, listen again, with the Diddy stuff going on, and you got women coming back to sue, you men better protect yourselves and stop all this. Nah, she wouldn't do that to me. Y'all trust these women, and y'all think because you have relations with them and they've, you know what I'm saying, and they've given you this false sense of like, I don't know, I don't explain it. They make you feel a false sense of security. Y'all don't believe that these women are capable of coming back to destroy your life. She could have took that $10 million and walked away, but she wants $50 million. Why do you need $50 million? How many hands are in the pot? How many people are looking to get paid besides the lawyer, right? Shout out to Jaye.
Do you think she has a chance at $50 million?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Because unless she has a video recording in her possession, that is the only way she can get anything close to that.
Says it didn't look good. It don't make them look good. Yeah, I don't know how they would.
Shout out to Devon, who's been a member for 24 months. Shout out to all the members of this channel for being loyal and supporting. Says, and you still think men still no a lot. Listen, Americanized men want nothing to do with marriage, and we have every right to feel this way. We have every right to feel this way.
Was able to see it, but they seen a clip of it. My man just texted me this morning. He was like, "Yo, Shannon Sharp's going to jail. I just saw the video." Like I was like, "Oh shit."
Who told you that? Shaq? Did Shaquille O'Neal tell you that?
In fact, it was last night, like 12 after 12.
So we can't be saying all these different things. Said Lord Jamar. So he probably is, because you know, Shannon is in that podcast space. I got to understand something about Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar is a YouTuber. Shout out to Lord Jamar for being a YouTuber. He's in the YouTube podcasting space. You know, he has to compete with people like Shannon Sharp for viewership, even though they are not in the same lane. But Shannon Sharp has been getting a lot of smoke from these Hollywood people, from people in the industry, right? Due to his interview with Cat Williams. I think a lot of these guys hold a lot of animosity towards Shannon Sharp because of that Cat Williams interview. And I think that Lord Jamar sees him as competition, which is why he's speaking and saying this. Because Shannon Sharp is competition. He's a podcaster. Even though they're in two different, Shannon Sharp, he's more into sports, but he does interviews. He's a threat to these people. And a lot of them dislike him because he's interviewed Cat Williams and some others that have angered them. Right? These people have fragile egos. Fragile egos. They're fragile people with fragile egos. All right, see. I think I have another video here. I'm gonna play a little bit of what Stephen A. Smith had to say. This is his friend, quote unquote. His a guy he works with, his coworker. Let me tell y'all something about Stephen A. Smith. Is a very shrewd guy. Shout out to Van Bivens.
Salute, Jay.
Salute.
Shannon need to be listening to you now. He been on, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Time for a minute now. Pro wax, stay with these bunnies.
Appreciate that. Listen, man, I don't get the obsession with white women. I don't get the obsession with white women. Kenneth, I think if the case continues to get worse, if more information comes out that makes him look bad, I think he's going to be cut loose from ESPN. I don't get the obsession with white women. I really don't. I don't get the obsession with white women at all. I really don't. There are plenty of other flavors of women out here. Why do some of you guys, you black men, get so obsessed with white women, especially Americanized white women? I can see if you're looking at a Nordic white woman. Nordic white women are incredible looking women, right? Maybe what is it, like Eastern European, maybe white Latinas. That's a thing. But white American women, a lot of you dudes would you do anything to be with a white American woman, and I don't get it. I don't get the hype. I don't get it. They're very descending. They can be hella fake, and they're chameleons. They will become whatever you want them to be. They can be Becky from the hood, or they can be Karen from the suburbs. I don't get the hype, people. I really don't. I don't get the hype with white women. Maybe y'all can tell me what the hype is. I don't. I'm not impressed by white women, especially in this country. I just don't. I don't get it. The obsession. The need. Now, maybe white women, they treat you better. It's a lot easier to deal with. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. But, I'm not about to be obsessed with them. Like I have to have one. You know? That's never going to be me. I just wanted to say that. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is about a white woman, as soon as you piss her off, she's going to play that card. As soon as you piss her off, she's going to play that card. Y'all know what card I'm talking about.
A lot of people were looking for me to say something. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to speak to one's innocence or one's guilt about something I have absolutely positively no knowledge of whatsoever. Do I believe that Shannon Sharp is guilty of what he has been accused of? Absolutely not. That is my personal opinion. The brother that I've come to know, I don't believe would assault or rape anybody. And I'm going to state that emphatically. But just as emphatically, I'm going to remind everybody it is my opinion because of what I feel about him. Not in any way implying that I know a damn thing beyond that, because I don't know. I've seen the text messages released by his lawyer, who, by the way, I don't think has been impressive in this at all, because
I agree.
Some of the information that was let out to the public, I have no idea why a lawyer would advise such a thing.
I agree too. That's why I say Shannon needs to bring in more lawyers. He needs to bring in a different legal team. He needs to bring in a legal team that is all about mudslinging and, digging up dirt. That's what Rock Nation does. That's why I say go get Rock Nation's lawyers. Rock Nation's lawyers are some dirty, grimy people, but they get the job done. They helped get Tory Lanez locked up. Y'all don't think Rock Nation helped get Tory Lanez locked up? Of course they did. Mm-hmm. Now people can say that conspiracy theory, but I mean it fit, the glove fit in that one. But yeah, he's gonna probably need to get new lawyers. And his lawyer, and I posted on my Twitter timeline, his lawyer is out here speaking like, yeah, we was offering $10 million. And I'm saying to myself, why would a lawyer advise his client to settle for $10 million? Like, why? If you're that thirsty to settle, of course she's going to want more. We're talking about an Americanized woman here.
But that's a different subject for another day. And we're allowed to deduce from an opinion perspective what we believe and what we don't. So long as we concede that we have no way of knowing definitively what the truth is. What I can speak about is the fact that this three-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that's ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. As I sit here before you today discussing this matter, ESPN and Disney have a wait and see attitude when it comes to whatever evidence they may learn about this entire situation involving Shannon Sharp from a legal and from a civil perspective. What they didn't need as it pertains to those two things that I just mentioned, they didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharp's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand.
Now, Stephen A., why would you say this unless you know that, yes, you may know this internally, but why would you publicly state this? It's almost as if Stephen A. Smith is trying to protect ESPN from Shannon Sharp. Listen, with friends like this, who needs enemies, right? So you say you don't believe anything right now. You don't know what the truth is. But you're putting a line in the sand and you're basically saying, listen, Shannon, ESPN Disney is not going to stand for this. And we're going to do what's in the best interest of us. And, you know, that's what we're going to do. It's almost like he's trying to protect ESPN Disney from Shannon Sharp. That's what it looks like. Looks like he's trying to protect the brand from Shannon Sharp.
So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I am not surprised.
And that's what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Now we're going to watch this video from Law and Crime, because they put out a video about, you know, I guess Shannon Sharp's strategy changing. Well, he needs to change his strategy because obviously the strategy currently hasn't been working. This guy he needs to hire the best lawyers he can. He looks like he may have probably had the same legal team. Like I say, your legal team is screwing you over, Shannon. And by having you settle with her, $10 million, Shannon, come on, bro. I don't understand how you could just look to settle that quickly. How can you look to settle that quickly unless you're guilty of something? Which has people saying that you got a tape out there. You know, like your lawyers are supposed to take care of you and your interests, not make you pay somebody out like that. Like, come on. But this is from Law and Crime. If it plays. Doesn't look like it wants to play. Second, why seek to get. Salute to everybody that's here. He probably didn't want this to get out of hand, but it has. Because, see, when you offer money like that, they see blood in the water. His stylist might be on the TV. Yo, man, Shannon probably got a couple. Listen, that whole, y'all remember that audio when he was having relations with Michelle? Maybe he was actually recording that. He thought he was recording that for, you know, recording that for himself, but he didn't realize that he was on live. It's crazy.
Hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him.
Hold on, y'all.
I can't sit here.
Okay. Look at him trying to protect ESPN. You know, they just paid him, so he want to protect
and speak to his innocence or guilt.
High-profile names are speaking out as NFL Hall of Famer and First Take analyst Shannon Sharp steps away from ESPN temporarily in the wake of a $50 million rape and sexual assault lawsuit. Sharp, who adamantly denies the allegations, called them false and disruptive in a social media statement released just as disturbing audio clips began making the rounds online. I'm going to break down what this move signals for his legal battle ahead and what celebrities are saying as the story continues.
Lawsuit Cali says he might be guilty at some degree. Yeah, listen, I that's why I said in my videos that I posted, I said the truth is probably in the middle. And I believe he felt guilty for something. Maybe because he was with a 20-year-old that was not used to the type of things that he was into. I think he felt guilty about that. But $10 million is crazy. 10 million is crazy. First of all, dude, Shannon got money like that? I don't think his net worth was that high, but maybe he does. Like I said, the guy has 2 successful YouTube pages. And I'm pretty sure, and he bragged about how much money the Cat Williams interview made him. He bragged about all the money that the Cat Williams interview made him. So maybe he does have it like that. Make sure y'all like the stream.
Continues to unfold. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Shannon Sharp, the Hall of Fame tight end, ESPN's First Take analyst, announced he is stepping away from the network temporarily after a Nevada woman filed a $50 million lawsuit accusing him of rape and sexual assault. Sharp announced his decision to step away in a social media statement where he called the allegations false and disruptive, insisted that their relationship was, quote, 100% consensual. ESPN backed this decision, though, to take a break, calling the situation, quote, serious. Now, Sharp's statement that was posted on his Instagram account on April 24th reads in full, quote, my statement is found here and this is the truth. The relationship in question was 100% consensual. At this juncture, I am electing to step aside temporarily from my ESPN duties. I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with false and disruptive allegations against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. I sincerely appreciate the overwhelming and ongoing support I have received from my family, friends, and colleagues. And following Sharp's departure, as I mentioned, ESPN released its own statement supporting that decision. A spokesperson for the sports conglomerate wrote, this is a serious situation, and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away. Now, this move comes on the very same day that the NFL draft kicked off and in the midst of the highly anticipated return of the 2025 preseason. But the controversy has already cast a shadow over his career and, by the way, a rumored reported $100 million podcast deal, which we're going to talk about as well. Amidst all these claims, there have been some high-profile names who have come out to express their thoughts on the allegations. And we're going to get into what was said and who said what, because some of these responses may even surprise you. But in case you haven't been following this, if you need a little refresher here, this is an incredibly tumultuous legal battle that Sharp is now wrapped up in. You have this woman, who we're choosing not to name, by the way, even though it appears Shannon Sharp and his legal team identified who she was. But you have this woman who has brought forth a lawsuit against the analyst alleging that she was in a relationship with him that began consensually back in 2023, but then turned very ugly. And that lawsuit that was filed on April 20th alleges that Sharp raped this woman twice in October of 2024 and once in January of 2025. Key claims include, and I want you to brace yourself here because these are very disturbing allegations, that Sharp raped her while she sobbed and ignored her pleas to stop, that he recorded her without her consent and shared videos with others, and that he even threatened her. There was an audio clip that was released by this woman's attorney, and if you've been watching a lot of Sidebar, you'll recognize the name, Tony Busby, capturing the voice of a woman whom attorneys identify as the woman suing Shannon Sharp, telling him not to manipulate her, where a man's voice, resembling Sharp's, can be heard saying, if you say that word one more time, I'm going to bleep and choke the bleep out of you when I see you. And the woman, allegedly the plaintiff in this case, then can be heard saying she doesn't want that, while the voice resembling Sharp responds, yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter. And this is all important because Sharp's team is not only denying the allegations, but they're firing back, calling this whole thing a shakedown, arguing that anything that did happen was entirely consensual. In fact, here's part of Sharpe's response that he posted to his Instagram page with a pretty serious promise to fight back in court.
This is a shakedown. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
And we know that this was coupled with Shannon Sharp's team releasing text messages from this woman, or appearing to come from this woman. We did a sidebar episode on that as well. But what has even been suggested is that Tony Busby was going to release a portion of a sex tape, and Shannon Sharp encouraged, release the whole thing, release the full tape. Hey, just want to give a shout out to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's Law and Crime YouTube takeover. Now, Morgan & Morgan is a firm with over 1,000 attorneys. You know why they have so many? Because they win a lot. In the past few months, Morgan & Morgan secured a $9.3 million verdict for a car crash victim in Florida, a $5.6 million verdict for another car accident victim in Atlanta, and not to mention $1.8 million in Kentucky after insurance offered them a mere $5,000 in that case. And even if you think your case isn't worth millions of dollars, why not start a claim and fight for what you deserve? You can start a claim from your phone in just 8 clicks. The whole process can be done from your phone. So if you're hurt, visit forthepeople.com/YouTube takeover. Click the link below or scan the QR code on screen. Now, before we go into this any further, I want to bring on a guest to talk about this. I'm joined by Jeremy Evans, a sports, entertainment, and media attorney. I mean, who's more perfect than Jeremy to talk about this? Jeremy.
Salute to everybody that's here. What's good, Boss Calvin? Reigning Woman was good. Flyers in America. Make sure y'all like the stream if you haven't.
Thanks so much for taking the time. Let's start off with his decision to step away from ESPN. From a law perspective, a media law perspective, him stepping away temporarily, is that a wise decision both for him and the network? And how could it be that he actually returns?
So, Jesse, pleasure to be with you, and thanks for having me on. Honored to be with you. I think a lot of these times you have to go back to what the contract says between the talent and the studio or the network. And, I don't know if there was a morals clause or some sort of brand reputation clause that they might be looking at or dealing with. So that's something to keep in mind. But I think in terms of him stepping away, I always like to compare these situations to how past actors have sort of done with this. Look at the Trevor Bauer situation, the allegations that came out against him. And I think the best thing to do for Shannon was to step away. I think this is a time for him and his team to reflect. I think it's unfortunate that it had to happen on an NFL draft day. That happens to be one of the major subjects that he talks about on ESPN. So I definitely think he has the ability to come back, but I think one of the problems with stepping away voluntarily, as opposed to being sort of forced out, is that it does, in some sense, jeopardize the contract negotiations. I think it sort of puts a halt on a lot of things that he could be doing. But I think that also sort of highlights the seriousness of the allegations.
Do you think it also matters that this is a Disney-owned property? They own 80% of it. Do you think that matters?
I think so. I think, Disney is still recognized as a family brand. Even though I don't know if the average, sort of person would connect Disney with ESPN. I mean, business folks, of course. I don't think the average sort of child or maybe parent would recognize that. But that being said, it does matter. Disney is still sort of known as a family company in one of their products. I think another thing to think about is, there was talk for quite some time about spinning off ESPN. And this might sort of engage those discussions again as well. Well,
here's the thing. Again, if he had consensual sex with her, kinky, whatever, it's not against the law. It's totally fine. But for someone to have a career as a public face of, a sports company like this, right? and you look at the audio tape that was released, or text messages, or whatever might else be released during the course of this, how could ESPN take him back? I mean, in the sense that, yes, he's a grown adult to arguably consensual people. Let's just assume that for a moment, right? And nobody's saying that the audio tape, we're not 100% sure it's him. It seems like it's him. How would the company be able to take him back knowing all that stuff's out there?
Right. It's a great question, because you look at the Trevor Bauer situation that occurred, and even though he was proved, through different court iterations, through administrative hearings, to have had consensual sex and had not sort of done anything wrong, I think ultimately his actions on the field and sort of his combative nature, right or wrong, was sort of what did not allow him to come back to play baseball, right? And with Shannon Sharp, I mean, this may be one of those things where if you were to watch his pod and some of the guests he has on, I think it's some of his best work in terms of him being sort of entertaining and funny. And it may just be that he sticks with the podcast. And the podcast would, by the way, pay him more than what he's getting with ESPN. So to your point, maybe it is that he doesn't come back to ESPN and he focuses on the podcast. And
well, do you think the timing of this is interesting with the reported $100 million podcast deal?
I do. And there may be something to that as to sort of where the money's coming from. I would also say, too, that it's not surprising, because anytime in litigation, you're always...
By the way, Trevor Bauer was dealing with a black woman who lied on him and tried to Me Too him. You got to be careful, gentlemen. These women will say anything in order for you to sleep with them, and then use it against you if you reject them or you don't give them any money. All these women think that they all think they're 10s. They think they're the most attractive woman in the world. But when you reject them, they want you to suffer.
Looking for the deep pockets. And I'm not a litigator, but that tends to be the case.
Interesting. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about the public figures who have begun weighing in on this. And the responses range from staunch defenses to what appears to be cautious skepticism, maybe. I think that's a fair way to articulate it. So I'm going to start with a big one, okay? This is Stephen A. Smith. This is Shannon Sharp's First Take co-host in a 20-minute video that was titled My Thoughts on the Shannon Sharp Situation, that was posted to his YouTube channel on April 22nd. Smith appeared, what I would say, conflicted on the allegations against someone that he referred to as a close friend, appearing to express discomfort with Sharp's legal team releasing explicit text messages along with the accuser's name.
Going on the offensive to defend himself, I completely understand where Shannon Sharp is coming from. On the other hand, when his legal team issued out the press release on X yesterday, and they spoke about, they mentioned her name, and they revealed some of those explicit text messages, that was uncomfortable.
And he even said he's not sure that's going to work. But in the end, he hoped for Shannon Sharp's innocence.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharp is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharp is somebody that I brought to ESPN. We've grown close as friends. I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him. I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt.
And it's also worth mentioning that Smith addressed Sharp's frustration with attorney Tony Busby's history, his history of what they say arguably targeting high-profile cases against black men, namely the civil suit that was dropped against Jay-Z, but we also know that he's represented claims against Sean Combs, Deshaun Watson. So, Jeremy, back to you. When you listen to that, could Stephen A. Smith's arguable discomfort over Sharp's legal team releasing
What's up, Treyway?
Explicit texts and naming the accuser, your thoughts on that tactic, and could that have legal implications for ESPN or Shannon Sharp?
So it's such an interesting point and question. I guess two things. The first is I sort of look back at If you may recall the audio that was released by Shannon Sharp, and it was sort of like a sex tape audio, and that occurred with, I would say, year. I don't know how that was released or why that was released, but that was something that came out and was talked about. And so, again, that's an interesting little caveat in the background where when people's minds are already thinking about this, and then these allegations come out. So that's not going to help him in that regard. I think with Stephen A. Smith's response, it's calculated. And I'm sort of reminded.
Salute to everybody that's here. What's good, Patrick? Black Jesus was good. Mr. Anderson's News Network, what's up?
Of this quote by Abraham Lincoln where he would say, stand with anyone that's right and stand with him when he's right and then part with him when he goes wrong. And I think that Stephen A. Smith has always been calculated. As his colleague and as his friend, I'm not sure I would have released that statement, or maybe I would have just done a written statement and maybe no comment or something like that. It does seem to sort of muddy the waters a little bit, to your point, because it adds more questions than answers. And again, the fact that their colleagues at ESPN could provide for some issues as the litigation moves forward. And those are statements that potentially could be used.
He was clear he had no knowledge of any of this. He had no part in any of this, and he's just basing it off of the reporting. I guess it goes to a larger question of, and I mentioned this the other day, I call it the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation. It's basically the playbook. You release everything for the public. You release all these messages. You out your accuser. I don't know if the ethics of that, and I wonder if it could help him legally, maybe put pressure on this lawsuit to drop or to make sure that he maintains public favorability. But obviously those messages could complicate a legal case for her, clearly, if we're talking about what happened. Just generally speaking, though, do you agree with his idea that
accelerated degrees in cybersecurity?
I don't know if I would have done that. Release everything, including naming her, which I thought was interesting too, or seemingly naming her.
Yeah, no, and good point, Jesse, because I think that anytime, one of the ethical responsibilities as a lawyer is that you have a duty to the tribunal, a duty to the court, and to have this ability to where you're very careful about how you speak outside of the courtroom and, how you prep for trial. All those things matter. So to your point, I don't know if it's the greatest strategy. This is such an interesting case because on one hand, to your point, it's not illegal to have sex in your bedroom and the choice of how you want to do that. But, anytime you put this stuff out in public, I just don't know if that's the best strategy. And or the other issue is, your ethical duties, as a lawyer. So, which I think Stephen A. Smith, highlighted.
So let's take a look at another high-profile perspective, and this one is from Charlemagne the God. So on the April 23rd episode of his podcast, his show, The Breakfast Club, he suggested that Sharp's choices in the past appeared to contribute to his current situation.
Destiny's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. And all of this is happening because it seems like Shannon Sharp made some poor choices. And being 54 at the time, hollering at a 19-year-old, is a very poor choice. Mm-hmm.
And Charlemagne might have, he might know something about that.
Okay. It is what it is. Yeah. Yes, it's a shakedown, but, people can't shake you down unless you give them something to shake.
Now, Charlemagne in that clip is referring to the age gap that's present between Sharp, who's 56, and the plaintiff, who's now 20 years old. Okay. Now, Jeremy, does Charlemagne suggesting that Sharp's choices contributed to this situation, specifically the large age gap? Does that have any legal relevance in this case? I mean, he says it's a shakedown, but can't be a shakedown unless you give them something to shake.
Right. I don't think so. I mean, this is sort of the age-old thing. I mean, there's sort of been many examples of sort of older men dating younger women, and there seems to be a mutual attraction there, consistent across relationships. But I will say this, and this is where I think the legal issue may go, is sometimes the power imbalances in relationships. And so that may become a concern as this case moves forward, is this sort of issue of him being older, more powerful, having more money. But I also think, to Charlemagne the God's point, it's also this issue of how much information Shannon Sharp does put out in terms of about his relationships when he does interviews. Obviously, the past audio tape that came out. These things are not going to help his case. And, and I happen to like Shannon Sharp. I think, he's a great analyst, and I wish him all the best, and I hope that these allegations are not true.
I just wonder if it'll affect the jury, right? Just the perception of.
I think the jury would like Shannon Sharp. He's a very likable guy. Very likable guy.
Could that turn them against him?
Agreed.
Okay, I want to take a look at something else. Now, this one is from the rapper Boosie Badass. And he took to X on April 22nd with a series of inflammatory tweets regarding the allegations. In one post he wrote, "She heard he was about to get that $100 million. This is in reference to that rumored podcast deal that we mentioned earlier. I'm sick of these bleeps. They be knowing they can probably get a couple million to make it go away." So, Jeremy, got a point here? I mean, could public suggestion that the accuser is targeting Shannon Sharp for financial gain, could that be a key point here? I mean, the timing of this lawsuit is quite interesting.
So, great question. And I think to your point earlier about like juries may affect a jury in terms of how they view something or whatnot. But that being said, they're going to be instructed by the judge as to what facts they can look at. I think what really matters on the legal side is what do the facts say? And if there's enough facts there to show that the element of the claim has been proved, then ultimately that's sort of where it would land. So I think from a sort of media standpoint, it matters, public sort of relations.
What's good, Paul? What's good, Darlene?
It matters in terms of the timing of this. Clearly does not look good for the alleged victim. But that being said, I don't think it's going to matter much in terms of the legal aspect of it.
Victim.
Well, let me ask you this. In terms of public sentiment, again, going back to Baldoni and Lively, a lot of people have opinions about that case. I'm curious what people's opinions will be of this. Let's say, for example, if you see a large segment of the population, large amount of celebrities just side with Shannon Sharp on this, could that influence the decision to move forward with the lawsuit? I'm curious about what the public response and the response in the industry, how that might affect the progression of a lawsuit.
Absolutely. So two points on that, or 1 point, but sort of two divisions. The first is prior to going to trial, this could absolutely have an effect because the alleged victim could be looking at this with her counsel and saying, wow, the public opinion is against us. This is a lot of pressure to deal with. Let's settle this case and move on, which is probably what all parties will end up doing. I don't think they want this to go to trial or to have any more facts or anything else out there, right? This is definitely, crisis management from that standpoint. However, the split would be once it goes to trial, it's really just about the facts of the case. And the fact that Shannon Sharp may or may not be looking at a $100 million podcast deal is not going to have an effect on whether or not the things that are being alleged were committed.
What's good, Kathy? Yeah, I'm live. Even though despite the buffering that I have been dealing with, I'm live. On this Friday night, make sure y'all like the stream if you haven't.
Well, in that same vein, we heard from psychologist and social commentator Dr. Umar Johnson came out in defense of Shannon Sharp, voicing his support.
Yeah, Darlene, he still has Nightcap, his podcast with Ocho Cinco and Club Shay Shay. He owns those properties. Nightcap, I don't know if he 100% owns it himself. Maybe he co-owns it with Ocho, but that's his still one of his platforms. That's why I say he can't be canceled because he has his own platform. And he could still get the podcasting deal because again, he is one of the most popular podcasters out here. Yeah, these men got to choose better women. Boy, you could have went overseas and got you. If you wanted you a 20-year-old, you could have went overseas and got one. I doubt that they would be trying to sue you after the relationship is over. I'm not saying I'm speaking for them, but again, those women haven't been Americanized. Americanized women want men to suffer because they're not with these men for the right reasons. She was with Shannon Sharp because he was rich and famous. She didn't naturally like Shannon. She couldn't stand him, but he had money. Remember, $25,000 per cheek. Remember? She was talking numbers in those text messages. She had disdain towards him the whole time. Kathy, I think they may end up still settling. I think they may end up still settling.
For the podcaster, the analyst, and this was during an Instagram live stream.
I'm standing with Uncle Shannon because I don't like when black men get taken down. Uncle Shannon Sharp is my brother. I'm standing with Uncle Shannon Sharp until the facts prove otherwise.
And he also said he believes this whole thing is a scam. Now, Jeremy, does Dr. Johnson publicly calling the case a scam raise any red flags for you?
No, I think this is something that you see on with every ethnicity, with every color, with every person. This is something that you see when you deal with money. You're going to have people that are going to come forward and allege certain crimes or certain civil issues or whatever litigation. But that being said, it is something that.
Who gives a damn on what Dr. Umar Johnson got to say?
Appreciate that, Devon. Shout out to Devon.
We see more and more in this day and age with social media. So I think to me, it really just comes down to the facts. And of course, if it goes to trial, it will come down to that. But I think prior to that, to your point, and maybe to some of the points of a lot of the celebrities who've been weighing in, if this doesn't go to trial, it will come down to public opinion. And ultimately, I think the parties will make a decision based on public opinion.
And let's finish this up with the idea of public opinion, because we got a response from one more person I want to address. This one is from the rapper Cameron. And during the April 23rd episode of It Is What It Is, he also appeared to offer a conflicted take, saying on one hand that the accuser may have...
I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to play the one from... I'm going to play the one from the Art of Dialogues podcast. The Art of Dialogues page. Where is it? I'm going to play this clip from Mace. I should have played this one. Again, make sure y'all like the stream. We're going to get into this. Hold on. Let's play this clip from Mace. Now, this is a clip from Mace where he talks about how it's possible that, she has a pimp.
And for him to offer $10 million says that there might be some truth to this, because I'm not offering nobody no $10 million if I know I didn't do anything. And I think the only reason that $10 million didn't work, Killer, I want to know how you feel about this. I think the $10 million didn't work because the pimp need his cut. Just allegedly. I'm not saying there is a pimp, right? Let me give you. It's just an idea. This is just an idea, right?
And listen, he's probably right. Listen, Mace is probably 100% on the money, but I guess now we call them managers, right? Do y'all know a lot of these IG models got managers? That's how they all have OnlyFans. Now they're coming over to YouTube and they're making YouTube channels and they're doing reaction channels. Now they're gamers. All of them have managers. They have managers, quote unquote.
So if there's a pimp, right? Why y'all keep laughing? I know this is why they flew me back in. They wanted to know my take. But listen, all jokes aside, if the girl said I want 10, this may be the lawyer, right? Just hypothetically, all of these things, right? And the guy who put her on to Shannon was like, you didn't even know him. I put you on them. You didn't even know who that was. You was asking about college.
You was asking about college.
Yeah, this is your Thurgood Marshall right here. Him right there.
I'm telling y'all, that girl did not know who Shannon Sharp was. Okay? She probably did not know who Shannon Sharp was. The dude that she knows let her know, hey, that's Shannon Sharp, that's what I believe. And I believe there are people or person who is directing her to go after more money, because we have some very greedy, grimy people out here. They never have enough.
For real? Yeah, that nigga worth a lot of money. You know how guys be, and they pushed her on her, and then she said 10. He was like, 10 is my 10. You got to put in your number for yourself. That don't have nothing to do with mine. 10 is mine. That's what we discussed. I'm just telling you, I ain't been out the streets that long. I know this is how peace think. You know what I'm saying? And if somebody's watching this and you know that behavior, you just put it in the chat and say it's Mace lying. And then another thing I want to look at in this whole entire case, right? I heard something about 50 or 25,000 a cheek.
25,000 a cheek.
That's what she texted him. She need 25,000 per cheek.
What are you doing with a cheek to pay 25?
I told y'all all that tricking.
I hope.
Yo, listen, man. She had no respect for him. None. She was going directly for his pockets. You hear me? She was going directly for his pockets. That's what she was about. She was about going directly for his pockets. She had no respect for him. For her to say that, because there are women who would do some very freaky things with the dude for no money. For no money. She saw him as a trick. She saw him as a lick. She saw him as a mark. And he fell for it. He fell for it, man. The red pill will never go away. I'm telling you, too many of these men show why we need the red pill. A lot of you guys think that it's about hating women. It's about
Paul Pierce's job. Right. They should give Matt Barnes his job back.
Yep.
And even Michael Irvin, our own Michael Irvin, should get his job back. If people are not just gonna, honor what they're supposed to honor, to me, I believe that he should keep his job if he's innocent. But if he's guilty and ESPN keeps him, then ESPN need to give all those people their job back. But I don't really know how this is going to turn out.
That's very true.
And all I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharp like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
That's because he's covering his bases. He's a company man, and he always saw Shannon as competition, always. But he was cordial with them because they worked together.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it ecstatic, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day. Or not every day, but,
Damn near.
And I'm not taking a shot at Stephen A. It's just an observation.
It does sound like you was taking shots at Stephen A. From what you said, I didn't see Stephen A. shit, but what I'm gathering, what you said from Stephen A. said, he basically said, I don't know the nigga like that.
And again, he is protecting the brand, and that brand is ESPN. He wants to show that he's a company man. And also, I bet you Stephen A. Smith is in those meetings talking about, listen, I told you so. I told you he was going to bring trouble here. I guarantee you that's what he's telling them. See, Stephen A. Smith is not going to say this publicly, but I bet you he's telling those higher-ups, I told you, that's why he shouldn't be here full-time anyway. He was going to bring trouble. I'm telling you right now. Y'all think Stephen A. Smith is above throwing people under the bus? He threw Max Kellerman under the bus. But anyway, that's it. That's all I have for tonight. Appreciate y'all being here. Shout out to the moderators, the channel members, the patrons, the members, everybody that supports. Thank y'all. The relevant links are in the description box. And thank y'all for being here on this Friday. I know it's been a while. I had some buffering issues tonight, and I'm not going to go live again until I look to address those. Just know that I'm going to look to address, those particular issues. Okay. All right, people. See y'all next one. Y'all take care. Have a great rest of your night and have a great weekend. All right.